we don't really necessarily owe anybody anything. Like that's what I would ask you next, is that do you feel like you owe your audience something? And I think the answer is no. You owe yourself the ability to grow and learn and be who you are, because the fact that they're following you is because you were audacious and bold enough to put yourself out there and get your perspective out to the world. Other than that, we don't owe anyone shit, you know what I'm saying?
Friend me, any me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. Friend me, any me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. Friend me, any me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. Friend me, any me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me. All these niggas just wanna be a mini me.
What you got something next prepared for us?
Oh yeah.
What's next?
So we're gonna do some county.
Okay.
So this has been pre-cooked already.
Oh my god.
Perfect, man.
I'm just gonna put another coat of sauce and just sear it.
You'll be a good judge of this one, right here. Yep. Ooh,
Must ask the Korean ambassador.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
I hope so. Wow.
Joe, you have two characters, right?
Yeah, I had a lot of characters.
You have a lot of characters. At what point are you even conscious of the characters that you're portraying?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
You are.
So I got my start in comedic acting, like we made sketches and stuff like that. And I was actually afraid of being myself.
Wow.
Like I couldn't perform on stage and speak like the way I'm doing right now with you guys, because when I had an alter ego, it was much easier to perform as this character, because whatever people said or if they laughed or whatever, it was that, not me, that was being judged. And it was weird because, I'll be at a performance and I'll be in character with like a couple hundred people and I'm not embarrassed at all. But then when I'm doing a speech at school and there's only 20 people in the classroom, they're not even paying attention to me, I'm shaking. So I had to get used to being, I guess, myself, but they're just all exaggerated parts of who I am. Yeah.
And that was deep. There's like a lot of psychology behind that. I was listening to it and going like, it's hard being like in front of social media sometimes, because when you actually have to be yourself, it's like if someone picks a comment or makes a mean comment, it's not no longer about Uncle Joe or any of your characters. It's like Joe, you know?
Yeah.
Completely relate to that too. Like as a performer, like if I wasn't wearing like costume and if I was on a persona, I would not be able to.
It's different.
Do the things I would do on stage.
But I feel like it's not a fake version of you. It's really who you are. It's just it's expressed differently.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone talks about the importance of like authenticity in social media, and I've so far up until this point, it's turned freaking 43, right? And it's crazy. And I'm at this point in my life where, what does it now mean to be truly authentic?
Yeah.
And authentic doesn't mean, because Joe came from the gang like that, no matter what, he has to keep it straight. Like, that's not authenticity. Authenticity is you evolve into the person that you say you truly want to be. That's evolution, right? So my wife and I were watching Halston on Netflix, and it's the designer, and came from Indiana.
Sad.
Yeah, it was really sad. And there was a scene where he was talking to his friend, he was talking funny as in like, that's not him. And the friend would say, hey, Halston, why are you talking like that? That's not you, you're from Indiana. And he goes, correction, I was from Indiana. I'm gonna continue to pursue the person I truly wanna be. And I think that's more important right now, more than ever, as where we are as public figures, as content creators, as entrepreneurs, that adding value, we don't really necessarily owe anybody anything. Like that's what I would ask you next, is that do you feel like you owe your audience something? And I think the answer is no. You owe yourself the ability to grow and learn and be who you are, because the fact that they're following you is because you were audacious and bold enough to put yourself out there and get your perspective out to the world. Other than that, we don't owe anyone shit, you know what I'm saying? So I just wanted to encourage, because you guys are at the forefront of change, the pandemic is starting to end, we're seeing the tail end, and we want to push past Asian hate, we want to push past BLM and then all these mass shootings, because people are hurt inside. I think that's why all these things are happening. And I know that we all understand at the deepest level what pain is, what pain means. We know what it's like to lose a loved one, to know what it feels like to be criticized. and put down or looked over oftentimes. Like we talked about second-class citizen, right? You felt like you were less than. And I want to, as creators, as entrepreneurs, as CEOs, we're gonna get past that today. Like there's no more second-class citizen mentality, no less than mentality. We're gonna march on forward and be at the forefront of change. You know, we wanna be the agents of change here. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I really just invited you guys, you included, because dude, you made a bold decision, man.
Thank you.
You know what I mean? Kid on the way, now you're cooking us.
You're reminding all this time. Your girl.
It's happening in 3 months, and you left your wife to come hang out with us, right?
It's my dream to be here.
So my question is, what did that mean to us? You know, as a sign of us getting out of the pandemic, the hate. What does that mean to you as you want to create your better future now, Soy?
You know, I think, like you mentioned, the whole idea of like pushing forward and like being like, you know, don't feel this certain way is like super valid and super important. But I also think, and the whole part of all of this is that we're human, and humans experience a lot of different emotions. And one moment you can be super high and be like, yeah, I'm the forefront of change. And then sometimes you feel like a little kid at the back of the class that can't raise your hand, and it's okay to feel those things.
Yes.
Because I think the only way that you can move forward is not just like, oh, never get bad again, you know, because that's not how growth works. It's not constantly moving forward. It's like sometimes like this, you know, sometimes you have your downs and ups.
Oh yeah.
But it's like you continuously grow from those experiences instead of thinking like I'm moving 3 steps back because I'm making the same mistake. It's like, how can I move forward from this? So it's also important to have like all those human emotions of empathy and kindness and for yourself, not just for everyone else, but also for yourself in understanding that. So that's what I guess like COVID and everything that happened really helped me understand, is that it's okay for me to feel human. It's okay for me to feel sad. It's okay for me to have these valid emotions. What am I going to do next with them? Yeah.
That's really good. It's really good. I'm sorry. Is this prepared a special different way? You got a torch and everything.
Yeah.
Right?
So this the Calbee is center cut. So you say prime, but when you get Calbee, if you get the center cut, it's always the best. And this one I basically
You agree?
and then this I just basically baked it in the oven.
Okay.
And I'm just gonna slap on a nice little sear.
Dang. All right.
I've never
I love fire too.
I've never
so.
seen a torch like this.
Yeah.
This is
Like, this is
crazy looking.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so close there.
So yeah, this is it's a torch with a sear ball head, and all this does is it basically like kind of diffuses the
cool.
sear. Yeah. Because if you just torch it straight on, you probably just like burn like a second.
That's probably what I would do.
Yeah.
Let's see the Papa Wagyu at work right here.
So there's like a little warm up time, and when the meat kind of starts bubbling, it's gonna kind of move it.
Is that the sugar?
Yeah, it's like the sugar caramelizing. Layer it.
Use your fingers, dude.
Ooh.
Thank you very much.
Got that?
I'll wait for the reacts.
Oh, it's so good.
Actually, no, sorry.
Marinated so well.
Oh, thank you.
There you go, man.
So melty. That's good.
Wow, look at that. How are you able to still get a medium rare in this little ass piece? Have you ever had candy before? Because this is candy.
Dang. That's some good stuff.
I do like really sweet meat.
Yeah.
Slap your mama good.
Slap her so hard. Send her
Oh
to
my
the
god,
moon.
it's like disintegrates in my mouth.
Y'all better clean your bones or I'm gonna do it. Whoa.
I didn't know that too. Like, I didn't eat it like that. I would toss it to the side like
No.
this. Yeah, my friends were like, no, you gotta eat the whole thing. I'm like, that's edible?
My grandmother would like punch you.
As content creators, you guys, anyone could just jump in and just share. What's the hardest thing about being a content creator?
Probably a lot of like negative feedback, but the feedbacks that don't realize like why certain things are like the way it is. Like, let's say for example, I post like a photo shoot, you know, like me wearing a certain outfit, and some people will be like, why is she wearing like those kind of shoes with that, or why is she wearing like that kind of like hair with it? But people don't realize like so much like goes into like creating like a one type of content that maybe like my wig didn't get delivered in time, you know?
Like they want to nitpick and criticize.
Exactly.
Okay, so then how do you respond to that when you feel that way?
And in the beginning, it felt very personal, but then I just realized like none of this really matters, you know? I'm just gonna like put out the content, and if you don't like it, you don't have to like it, you know? And it took me like a while to like realize that.
How long did that take?
Probably a good 6 months, you know?
That's pretty quick, I think.
That's quick.
That's really
I know people that have been in the game for years,
Yeah,
and they still
take it personally.
little comments. They'll obsess about it for months. I mean, I've seen that break a lot of people though.
Yeah.
Just opinions of others. So, yeah.
Well, going off of that, Joe, I know that you're at a point where you're receiving a lot of the negative feedback, and you would go and say, meet me at this park, and let's fight, right? So gone are those days, obviously, you've matured.
Right. Oh man.
What were some of the steps?
22 or something.
That sounds like a 22-year-old comment.
But what were the steps on just kind of like realigning yourself to like, okay, these are negative comments,
Right.
but how I'm going to internalize it is this and move on this. Like, how was that process?
I think, like you mentioned, I have a different background from a lot of people. So the thing that I find offensive or severe that could hurt somebody, it just, I'm like, well, he's not threatening to murder me, so I don't care. Or whatever, right? Okay. So I think my threshold is much different from people who grew up, you know, maybe more in a safer environment. So I'm like living every day. But there are comments though where I feel like this person is really just trying to get under my skin. And then I realized to be thankful for that, because there came a point when I realized all they were doing was exposing my insecurities. And then when you start to, I guess, develop in that way and you mature, you go, hey, I'm bothered because the thing that they said about my girlfriend, I'm insecure about that. Like, you know, they called her a gold digger. And I'm like, maybe I thought she didn't really love me for who I was. And so I was insecure that it could be true. Wow. Or they're uncovering a lot of maybe trauma or things that I didn't like to hear. So then now I go, oh, awesome, thanks. Now I get this stuff and I can get ahead of my, you know.
So you used it as a tool to leverage a learning process for yourself.
And I think it kind of came as a way to deal with my like anger problems or whatever, right? Because back then it's like, you offend me, we're throwing fists, you know? But now it's like, I have nothing but love, because it's people that are saying things like that, they're in pain more than I am, and they have a miserable life. So, it's definitely changed. But I think that me just being in it for so long has helped me spend enough time to deal with things like that. Yeah.
I think after a while you just realize like, when you reach like a certain level of success, it doesn't matter like if you've been unproblematic, it doesn't matter if you're problematic. People will just not, there will be people that just don't like you because you're famous and they feel like you're not deserving of the success. Like, for example, like TikTokers, you go on their TikTok and they're not problematic, they're just there making TikToks and the comments are just hating for no reason.
How can you hate on a kid that's doing this? Like, they're just dancing.
But then when you see that, you know that these people, like you mentioned, the pain is like within them, you know what I mean? That's the point as a content creator. When you recognize that like these comments that are being said, it's just another, I guess, like amplified version of whatever they're feeling and their insecurities kind of pushing onto you. It makes it a little bit easier to deal with, because you realize, wow, if, you know, they say that hurt people hurt people. But I also believe healed people heal people. So if we as content creators constantly come up with that purpose, we're healing, we're growing ourselves, I think it does help like other people see that as well.
And it's such a waste of our time, because like if you obsess over these thoughts, they actually won by taking time away from your productivity, because you could be using that time for creating more content.
Honestly, they just want attention sometimes. Some of these people that write comments.
But to be honest though, I do love a good online argument.
That's your inner troll.
I love social media.
Sylvia, from a cultural standpoint, I know that you gave a lot of voice to the voiceless in the JA community this past spring. And what led you to take that action, meaning that in Little Tokyo, there's an establishment that came in and it just kind of boldly stepped into a place that was a little bit sensitive, and you became the voice for the community. And so what bolstered your spirit to be able to be like, I'm going to be that voice, I'm going to take matters in my own hands and be a part of this, I guess, this culture of me stepping up and backing those who have no voice?
I think for me it's a bit less thinking about it and just
Not like that.
doing it. A lot of my friends work, I guess, in the social justice space. So it's very common for a lot of my feeds to talk about social issues. So for me, it's not really out of character, or it's not very strange for me to say something.
Yeah.
As far as Japanese, Little Tokyo issues, a lot of Japanese people in general are very, very, very reserved.
Yeah.
I think out of almost all the Asians, they are some of the most reserved.
Yeah.
They're like, keep your head down, don't make noise, which I don't agree with. And that's where, like, I would say my Americanness comes out.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, I am extremely white presenting.
Like that.
So I obviously get a lot of people who are like, you're not Japanese, what are you talking about? Which doesn't bother me because I understand that, but I still know I'm Japanese. Like, I don't need to show you my passport. I will. Right. But so I just feel like I need to speak up and show other Japanese people, especially Japanese Americans, that it's okay to.
Yeah.
Japanese Americans have gone through so much trauma with the war and everything in the camps, and a lot of them their parents were like, don't say anything, also that's also just passed down from Japanese tradition from Japan. But I've gotten so many messages from JAs and Japanese people that are like, oh, that's so good you said something, I wish I could say something. I'm like,
Do it.
Yeah, right. But they still feel like they have to be the good ones.
Yeah.
But I think that's changing for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So thankful to be part of that.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Speaking of Japan, dude, you're Vietnamese, but dude, you want this A5 Wagyu Japan style. I just want to know what inspired you and your bros at Wagyu Society to take this and
Japanese culture.
Just like showing love. Like, tell us about that real quick.
Yeah. I think
It is, if it's ready, like we're ready to eat too.
it's almost ready.
Okay,
It's like
okay.
on and off heat.
Got it.
But I've always loved food, and my dream was always to travel. So I went to Japan once and proposed to my wife at the time, 2017.
Oh.
Yeah. But
So
I
cute.
went there. Yeah, it was amazing. Like, I went there, and like the culture is amazing. They're just so passionate about what they do, and I was dreaming. I was like, man, it'd be so cool one day to just be able to like travel to Japan or do something with food. But I didn't really think that was possible.
Yeah.
At the time, I was running my own business with my family. So I've always loved beef.
Yeah.
So I remember going to Japan, and we passed by Kobe, and I was like, it'd be so cool to eat that. We didn't get the experience. So then, basically one of my dad's friends is a big beef wholesaler. So he would have these A5 parties. So we'd just go there, just bring a big slab, and we'd only eat like half of it. And then he'd just give me the other half. So I would just give it out to all my friends, and we'd just do what we're doing now, just hanging out and talking. And so I was talking to my partners, Ron and Albert, and I was like, it's kind of cool to do a business around this. So for me, like, food is all about community.
Yep.
And I think Wagyu is an amazing connector. It's just one of the best beefs in the world. And
So what are we having right here? Thanks for allowing us to be a part of your guys' life.
Yeah.
What are we partaking in now?
So this is a very special A5 Wagyu brand. This is Drunken Wagyu.
Drunken Wagyu.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean? I never understood what that meant.
Yeah.
Like drunken noodles or drunken whatever. What does that mean?
Yeah. So this, most Wagyu in Japan are grain fed, but this one they feed sake mash, which is a byproduct of sake making.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, because of the diet, the cows are just like really buttery texture. It's pretty amazing. So the Prime Minister of Japan actually loves this. And
This exact
specific brand, yeah. And then when they serve it, they actually pair it with Opus One, which is
This is what we're having Opus One?
Which one did you guys have to take?
Yeah, thank you so much.
I'm going to serve Japan.
No, they
We need
do.
to see.
I gotta cleanse my mouth before.
So this is a ribeye cap. And I prefer grilled over bistro tenders.
Oh, ribeye cap. Has anyone had a ribeye cap before?
Oh yeah.
You guys,
Ribeye cap.
in for a treat.
You could just get the cap.
Yes, just the cap. So, just really briefly, can you explain to the people who don't know what a ribeye cap is?
Yeah.
It's the what part of the ribeye is it?
Yeah, so like traditionally when you buy a ribeye, you go to Costco or something,
Yeah.
they give you just the eye.
Yeah.
It might have the lip on it, so this is like the eye part, right?
Yeah.
The lip is like the extra piece of fat, so I section that off. The ribeye cap is that long piece that goes around, so if you ever eat that separately, it's like super buttery. It's amazing.
That's amazing.
That's all I want.
Yeah.
This is this is all for you actually.
So this is that's what we're trying to
Yeah, this is all. It's
Let's do
already
it.
fatty the
Let's
way
do
it
it.
is, but then with Wagyu, I'm assuming it's just
Yeah.
with the A5.
Have you guys seen how popular this is? Because like my little cousins, right? They're like 8, 7-year-olds. All they talk about is, have you had Wagyu? Like I've seen like these eat Wagyu.
Yeah,
I really want to
it's
eat it,
the-
and I love that. Like that's something like I grew up not understanding or not even hearing about, and now like little kids see like their favorite influencer, their favorite YouTubers like eating it and showcasing it.
Yeah.
And they're like, I want to try it.
Yeah.
I think that's so cool.
Wagyu was a legend. Like I'm Japanese,
Yeah.
and this is not normal food.
Yeah, for sure.
We heard of this legend,
Yeah.
and then it was like Prince's eat it.
Yeah.
And now like there's so much accessibility to it, which is like that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. However, this is really exclusive. Is what you're
This is
saying.
really exclusive, but for me, like I'm super basic, but
You ain't basic, bro.
You
Ain't
would
nothing
Wagyu.
made me Wagyu.
yeah.
Love
You're
it.
probably living a couple kids' like dream life.
Yeah. That's
I'm
right.
living my dream life right now.
Yay! There you go.
Absolutely.
All right. So is this all the same piece, or this the different cut right here?
So this is actually 3 ribeye steaks.
Gotcha.
Section off the
Got it.
cap, and then that'll be the eye.
So love to Wagyu Society and Papa Wagyu. Thank you so much for providing this delicious meat right here in Santa Ana.
Woo!
Yes.
Thanks for
How do
being
we
with
join a
us.
society? Like, you have to be branded? Like, is it a
Yeah. How does that work?
Or is it like a whole
Wagyu
thing?
Society, it's going to be my new company
Cool.
with my 2 partners.
Nice.
Our goal is to basically bring the best Wagyu of Japan and actually give it to everyone in the US.
Tap us in.
Around
Tap
the
us in
world.
already.
Around the world.
Yeah.
Wagyu
Wow.
Society.
Well, would you say all this happened here today for the first time?
Yeah.
That's what's up. Love it.
So
Yeah.
we're the
It was
first
so
members
weird, like,
of
to
the
say
club.
yes. The camera's
Wagyu
on.
Society.
Oh,
Wagyu
Look
Society.
at the way it's. Just,
It sounds secret. I like
Yes,
it.
yes, that's right.
We're an exclusive club, but it's for everyone. So.
And I think we've all here had Wagyu before. Yes. Have you had Wagyu before?
I don't know if I've had real Wagyu.
Yay! This is our first time.
You'll tell
This
the
is
difference. If you
Oh,
something
yeah.
like this, and it's like the first time.
Oh,
Real
Yeah.
is different.
Yeah.
like
Oh,
a
yeah.
virgin.
Yeah. Eat for the very first time. Yeah.
Like a Wagyu virgin. Thank you.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Oh.
So this is fire.
And this is the cap you said, or
The ribeye cap, yeah.
Ooh, I think it's my first time eating the.
Ribeye cap.
I just usually eat whatever meat's in front of me. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh my.
So this is like how it's it's a very minimal salt and grilled.
Which sauce should he use?
Oh.
So I put a little bit of pink salt in there. So I personally like the middle one. I like flavor in my food.
Oh,
But
wow.
you can just try like one of each.
It just melts in your mouth.
Yeah, yeah. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Let me know if you want me to cook it down a little bit more.
Oh.
Saying I can't wait to see your reaction.
Look at this. It's like
Let's get some reacts here.
Ooh.
AC for Joe real quick. Let's go Joe first. Reacts. Ribeye cap A5. Gotcha. Gotcha.
It's like seared toro.
Yeah, it is.
My 2 favorite Wagyu.
Yeah. Okay, saying what are you gonna? You're dressing it up with a little bit of garlic. I see.
Let's see.
You can try also that sweet soy sauce. That right there.
I'm
That's
just trying like on its own for the first
yeah.
Oh, I'm watching you.
Everyone has
wow.
one. Oh my god.
Yes.
Oh my god.
He changed his life. How does that feel?
I'm honored.
It's so good.
Wow.
That's so crazy.
This is a religious experience.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just like melts in my mouth and
Yeah.
the juice.
We're experiencing the Wagyu pilgrimage today. You know what I mean?
Like I don't want it to end.
Well, it's not. It's not, right?
No, we can cook all this too, but we have another type of AAPI Wagyu.
Wow.
And, I actually brought a little surprise for you too. So there's going to be more food.
For those who are considering, you know what, I want to put myself out in the world and create content. When it's 2021, I feel like it's too late, saturated. What would you say to those people?
I used to say just go for it, but now I'm like, you're too negative, don't do it. Your mindset is already
down there?
a list of why it won't work out for them.
Right.
I'm not here to encourage you. And on top of that, I don't want any competition in it.